Hey guys, so this is my first video in mechanics and keeping your equipment to last you longer than if you do not maintain it. This is a very simple video. I will be not doing any mechanics of sorts. I will only show you how to care for and hopefully keep your equipment a lot longer. I'm starting by using a mower that I picked up today, another one I got for free, and I will show you now, and I will use that as a demonstration. Let me get the camera set up here. I'm sorry for all the noise. I don't have an inside shop right now, and I'm forced to do my work outside, and wind and cars are, as always, a problem. Now, on first glance, this mower looks very good actually. It's a Norlet 1101, has a Briggs & Stratton. The exact marking of it is missing, but I do believe it's a 3.5 horsepower classic, and that's a very easy engine to work on. I have started it. It runs great, has good compression, runs very smooth, everything is okay. It does have a little bit of rust on some parts, but that's only surface rust as far as I can see. And the first thing I do once I've checked that it's running and it looks in fairly decent condition is I check the underside, and to do that I tip it backwards always. Now inside here you can see there is a lot, and I do mean a lot, of dried up grass, and you can see surface rust is starting to enter. So the first thing I do always is clean this off, check it, and with this much of rust I'm gonna just take the engine off. Well, first take the blade off, take the engine off, turn it upside down, clean it really well, sand it, get all the rust off, and prime it, and that'll keep it a lot longer for the next time. So that will prevent rust from building up again. But you can see the most important part of keeping your mower, as with any grass trimming tool, is clean the underside of it really well after you've used it. Do not let it sit and dry and then clean it. Dry it off, or preferably use a power washer, but just clean it off, and use your hose and a brush, just clean it off, and that will prevent rust and debris from forming in there, and will keep your knives sharp. It will keep rust from forming. It will keep your tool a lot longer. Also clean, of course, the top side and wheels. Wheels on this actually do turn well. So yeah, I'm going to tip it up again. Once you've cleaned the underside, give it a real quick wash on the top side. I like to use a power washer for that as well, but do be careful. Oh, sorry about that. Let me zoom out again. Do be careful to not power wash the air intake or the exhaust manifold or the exhaust pipe. Those are the two things you want to if you want to power wash the engine, cover it up, both of them, with something that will not take water, and you can power wash it safely. In order to keep your motor running for the longest, what you want to do is use the correct fuel. This runs on 95 unleaded fuel, and just do not let it sit for a long period of time with gasoline in the tank. Run it dry if you know you're not using it for a while. Run it dry, and you'll be sure no residue will pump in or come into the or sit in the carburetor. What you also want to do to keep it for the longest is, on a regular basis, check the air filter and check the oil. the oil should be changed at least once a year. I do believe some of the newer engines recommend that every 25 or 30 hours of use it should have new oil. But I like to say, if you change it once a year, that's usually enough. But you have to check the levels regularly, because as the engine gets older and more use, it will use more oil. That is just the nature of things. Another thing is check the spark plug, and that should also be changed regularly, or at least cleaned. You can just take it out, use a wire brush, clean it off, and it's usually good. But you can check the gap. I will do a video on how to do that, and I'll also do a video on oil and stuff. And so those very basic things will keep your equipment clean a very lot longer. Another tool that's often used is, let me just change the camera angle here, is a chainsaw. And these are a little bit different from your grass trimming tools. Well, most grass trimming tools, like weed whackers and stuff, all are very often two-stroke. So they use mixed oil, where you use oil and gas, or you mix the oil and gas, usually in a ratio of 25:1 or 1:25. So 1 part oil per 25 parts of gasoline or petrol. It doesn't have any oil chamber except for a chain lubricant, which is usually found right in front of where the chain is. That needs to be refilled and checked at least every time you refill with petrol. Do a check of the chain oil. And also, most chainsaws have an air filter that's on top. I'm going to just unscrew this really quick so you can see. This is a quick release, so sort of a quick release anyway. So when you take that off, there, you have the air filter on the inside. You can just take that out and inspect it. All these things actually stuck in there, but anyways. I'll do a video on how to do that later, but I just wanted to show you. Check it. This one is very clean because I just cleaned it. But if you check that, that'll keep petrol consumption to a normal level. Because if the air filter gets clogged up, that's with every petrol driven tool. If the air filter is clogged up, it'll use more petrol. Now, the important part of a chainsaw is in front. Now, on this thing, it shows up. I'm going to show you. Try to show you. The important parts are the chain needs to be tightened. This one is just tightened, and I've just done that. But it should be a little bit of a slack, but it shouldn't be loose. Just slack, and you should be able to move it freely. If you can do that, it's very good. This can be a little bit harder to clean, because to get it really clean, what you need to do is take off the cover that's on the side here. You unscrew those 2 bolts. Let me see if you can see that on the camera. What you take off are those 2 bolts. You take off this cover and the brake. Then you can take off both the blade and the chain and do a really quick or really thorough clean on the inside. You don't need to do that every time you use it, but if you've used it for a longer period of time, then I recommend you always do that. Then of course remount it, retighten the chain, and it's ready to use. The quick stop brake, always important to mount correctly. I will do a video on that as well. But those are the main things on the chainsaw, because in the front here you can collect up, if you see under here, like I said, I just cleaned this, but underneath here you can have a lot of sawdust form, which will bog down the chain, make it use more fuel again, and it can tear it and wear it, and you do not want that. So if you keep the chain and the bar, well, the chain and the bar clean, you clean this on a regular basis by dismantling it, you're good to go. On the front side is the muffler. That's not too important because that one, this here is the muffler. There's only one possible problem with the muffler, unless of course it breaks with a hole or anything, but there's a screen in there that can build up with carbon, which will cause the engine to not run correctly. I can do a video on that as well if that is requested. But like I said, the important part on this, chain and the bar, and of course the chain cover and brake cover, clean that well, use the correct fuel. The fuel is usually on the back, and when you do that, also check the chain oil. The chain oil is really important, because if it runs dry, that will break the chainsaw and you will have to buy a new one, or at least do a rebuild on it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set up and I'm going to start both of these for you so you can hear them run, and that's it for this first video. No mechanics, just simple everyday maintenance. The correct way to start an engine or a chainsaw like this is, in my opinion, I always use my foot and I place that in the handlebar. I flip the switch to on, I pull the choke, and I pull start it until I can hear it almost fire. When I've heard that, I know it's ready. I take the choke off and it starts up. You rev it a couple of times. And I shut it off for you now because it makes a little bit of noise. Now, one important thing about a chainsaw is do not start using it right away. Let it idle for a minute or so, just to make the engine warm up a little bit, because if you start revving it really high and continue revving it, it's okay to just rev it a couple of times and let it idle for a little bit. That makes it last longer and doesn't put as much pressure on the engine. So let's do the lawnmower now. Right, so here's the lawnmower. I'm gonna start it up now. This has on the handle right there, that's a start-stop switch. Right now it's in the stop position, so what you do is you take the handle, take that to the start position, and you pull on the starting cord. Now this uses this, I haven't changed the gas or anything in it. This, I have no idea how long this has been sitting, but it started up great, and let's see how many pulls it takes. And then that's running too. So thank you for watching, guys. I hope this was informative, and in the very near future now there will be some mechanics videos to do some very simple basic mechanics at home. Thank you for watching.